Okay, so we just finished talking about how to find a percent of a number. And now that we know how to do that, we're going to move on to two very common topics in math using that. And I will be honest with you, there are a lot of times that kids will ask me, Mrs. Z, when are we going to ever use this in our real life? And I have to come up with some fancy way to think about how it could possibly in the least bit relate to what you're going to do. Because to be honest with you, there are some things that you may not use in the real world, but you'll use them in 8th grade, and 9th grade, and 10th grade, right? So once you're done with school. But that's not the case for what we're about to talk about today. This is something that I use all the time, that my parents use, that your parents use, that grandma and grandpa use. There's a lot to do with this, and this is something that you are wanting to know, okay, or going to need to know. So if you had to think about the topic of concept of discount and taxes, which one sounds better? What would you rather have, a discount or a tax? A discount, okay? Because in a discount, you save money, right? So under the word discount, I want you to put that you save money, okay? And if you have a price on an item that you receive a discount on, what do you usually do with that from your total? What operation do you do? Do you add a discount to your price, or do you subtract it? You subtract it, right? So you subtract the amount of the discount from your total, correct? Because a discount means you pay that much less. It means the item is cheaper. So we are talking about money today, which means we are all using the classroom calculators, and the float is set on 2. Whenever you're dealing with money, it just makes it easier. So if you haven't yet, check your mode and make sure your float is set on 2. Okay? Now, a tax is not something you save, it's something you pay. Okay? So you have to pay money when you are charged a tax, which means if you're paying it, what do you do to your total? You add it to your total, right? Okay. So we're going to talk about now, at first, what to do with taxes. And you know, I can't assume that all of you really understand what taxes mean. So to do that, we're going to just make a 3-column table right here, just real quick in your notes, okay? And the first column is going to be the cost of your item, whatever it is you're talking about. We're going to talk about all kinds of things today. And then we're going to save this column for the amount of tax that you will owe. And then this column will be our total amount that we end up paying, okay? Now, tax is something that everybody pays. There's no way around it, okay? And what the tax in Michigan is, it's a 6% sales tax, okay? So there are some items that are tax exempt, meaning you don't pay tax on them. I don't know if there's tax on food. I don't think there is, but so like if you go to the store and you buy a shirt or a toy or radio or an iPod or something like that. So what that means is for every dollar that your item costs, you owe them 6 cents. 6 cents to the dollar. Some states it's 10 cents. Some states it's 4. Michigan has a 6% sales tax. Yeah.
What if it's 99 cents?
That's a great question. I think if it's 99 cents, what we were going to say is if it falls between the $0 to the 0 cents to the dollar range, it's 6 cents. I think. I don't think they ration it out or proportion it out. I don't know for sure. So we're going to go based on 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll talk about that. So then if the item is $1 and I owe 6 cents, what do I hand the cashier? $1.06, right? So if I have a $2 item, I don't owe 6 cents. I owe 6 cents twice, which is 12 cents. So I hand the cashier $2.12, right? You see where this is going? So then obviously if my item is exactly $3, then I owe them 18 cents, which means I owe them $3.18. Okay, I think we can stop going there. So Austin hit a great question. What if your item is $2.49? I kind of think that if it's between 0 and 1, it's your first dollar. If it's between $1 and $2, it's considered that second dollar. So I think they would round up like that. I'm not sure. So let's say we buy an iPod. Okay? We buy an iPod and it's $300. Okay? How could I figure out, I don't want to keep just adding 6 cents. I would rather use a calculator and the skills that we just learned about last week. And I want to know what sentence would I write from this? We're done writing the sentences now, but don't you want to know what is 6% of 300? So wouldn't you just write 6% of 300? And then you may open your calculators up, turn them on, and figure out, if you're buying an iPod, how much sales tax would you have to pay Best Buy along with the price of your, this is going to need to, it would be, what? $18. So if I owe $18 in tax and $300 for my iPod, what's my final cost of my item? $318, okay? Let's say I buy a MacBook or a computer or a laptop, and that costs $1,200 with a 6% sales tax. Don't you want to just know now what is 6% of $1,200? It's the same thing that we've been doing. I don't know why this is not. There we go. So 6% of 1,200. Whoops. Of 1,200 means $72 just in tax. I could buy a pair of shoes with that. Yeah. Do you see how 6% works? It's not the same amount every time. It depends on the price of your item. So if this is $72, and you know what? We are dealing with money today. So I want to see dollar signs today. Okay? So my final price for that computer would be $1,272, right? Okay, Erin Nicole, I need you to get something out and something to write on, please. So let's say I buy a car. And that car is $15,000. It's not very expensive for a car. And let's say this time, I know you're doing 6%, but let's just change it up a bit. Let's say that the sales tax is only 4% on a car. I'm sure it's still 6%, but just to give you something to do, different to do. Now I want to know what 4% of 1,500 is. So I hear the calculators clicking away out there. $600. Okay? That's a lot of cash. That could buy 2 iPods with the amount of tax you owe just for that, right? So what is your total for that car? $15,600. So if you're going in to buy a big ticket item and you have a budget, you have to budget for tax, don't you? Like if you say, all right, car dealership guy, I want to buy a car and I have $15,000. Can you buy a $15,000 car? No. You probably need to look for a $14,000 car because you're going to have quite a bit of tax to go along with it. You can buy a $14,400 car, right? Okay. Let's say you buy a yacht and that's $60,000. And for yachts, there's a 7% sales tax. Figure out how much you owe just in sales tax on a 7% $60,000 yacht. Do you hear yourself saying the question, what is 7% of 60,000? What do you got, Ryan? Yeah. Yeah, $4,200. $4,200 just in tax. Okay? What do I owe the boat dealership? A total of $64,200. And finally, I want to buy a house. Oh. Not even a mansion. A $250,000 house is what the houses, at least 5 or 6, 7 years ago, used to go for in the forest. So it's not a huge house. If you have over 2,000 square feet, the prices aren't what they used to be because of the market. But that's a decent sized house in the forest. Okay? How much tax, if it's 6%, would you owe on a $250,000 house? Woo is right. You can buy a car with that amount, can't you? Yeah. Okay, Donovan, what you got? Yes. So 6% of $250,000 is $15,000 just in taxes. Thank you. So my total would be what? Yep. Is that you back? Who's back there? Yep. $265,000. So if you go out shopping for a house and you have a budget, again, you can't look at $250,000 houses if that's all you have to spend. You have to go down. Okay, so do you understand how tax works? Tax is added in to your total. Okay? Let's make, and either flip it over onto the back side of your paper or, because we're going to make another column here and now talk about discount.